perquè l'any que ve tindrà la segona edició al Brasil, i aleshores ens va semblar que valia la pena entre congrés i congrés fer una reflexió sobre la mateixa idea de revitalització, i aleshores vam convidar alguns membres del comitè científic a fer aquestes xerrades. Avui tenim el plaer i la sort de tenir l'Ulrike Mosel. Dic la sort perquè em sembla que és la segona vegada que ve a Barcelona, vull dir que moltes oportunitats no hem tingut, però en canvi és una de les autores més reconegudes en l'estudi de les llengües amenaçades i de la revitalització. Ella ha treballat sobretot en llengües de Samoa Occidental i de Papua Nova Guinea. Aquells que us interessen els pidgins, té publicacions sobre el pidgin de Nova Guinea. I voldria mencionar un llibre en el que participa, però que va editar també juntament amb un professor que vindrà després, que és el Nicholas Hinderman. El llibre que van editar és Essentials of Language Documentation, i bé, hi ha una ressenya històrica d'un professor d'Austràlia que es diu Nicholas Hinderman, que comença la ressenya del llibre dient: aquest llibre és una fita, és a dir, un moment clau en el desenvolupament de la recerca. En el llibre aquest hi ha també un article del Peter Austin que avui tenim entre el públic. I bé, alguns professors que, per exemple, la Bruna Franqueto, que va venir aquí ara ja fa 20 anys a fer una xerrada, també hi participa. Els que us interessen els processos de substitució lingüística i de revitalització, aquest és un llibre que heu de conèixer. Pel que fa a l'Ulrike, a part de la dedicació a aquestes llengües, també hi ha un aspecte interessant que és la comparació. De fet, un dels articles d'aquest llibre parla d'això. La descripció de llengües de documentació i la relació amb les comunitats, és a dir, hi ha gent en les comunitats que treballa sobre les llengües i com es pot comparar des de la perspectiva de la lingüística també amb aquests elements. Vull dir que bé, avui ja veureu que és molt interessant la xerrada, hem estat veient algunes de les coses que fem, estic segura que us interessarà, però els que us interessin també aquestes qüestions ètiques i també com ha de ser la feina del lingüista, doncs és una autora molt a tenir en compte. Doncs moltes gràcies per haver vingut.
Thank you very much for this invitation. Maybe I push it off. Can you understand me? Because when I have a microphone, then I can't move around. So I'm very happy to be invited to give you a lecture on lexicography, which also includes corpus linguistics, because modern lexicography is based on corpora. And the conclusion will be, as you see in the last line under 9, lexicography needs to be better integrated into documentary linguistics. And documentary linguistics means that we document endangered languages, or let's say under-resourced languages, under-researched languages. So we start from the beginning, we collect texts, and then we translate the text together with native speakers and write a dictionary or write a grammar or whatever. My personal experience with lexicography started in the 90s when I was working on the Samoan language and was invited to help teachers to compile a monolingual school dictionary. And since the midst of the 90s then, I also studied the Teok language in Bougainville, Papua New Guinea. And we compiled a lexical database in a tool that's called Toolbox, and we produced thematic swimming and fishing, etc. And now I'm working on a TEOP English dictionary in a big project called Dictionaria, and that's an electronic dictionary, and I will show you, and we will play around with this in the end of this lecture. So, let's start with the typology of dictionaries. You all use dictionaries, I think, for your work. We have dictionaries and encyclopedias. The dictionaries then can be classified in monolingual and bilingual dictionaries, native speakers dictionaries and learners dictionaries, and the bilingual ones in active and passive dictionaries. This is a traditional terminology, and the only terms you need to know now is, or remember now, is SL stands for source language. So if you have a Spanish-English dictionary, then the Spanish is the source language and English is the target language. So when I document the TEOP language, I will have source language is TEOP and English is the target language. If I want to produce a language dictionary for, let's say, language revitalization, so it would be more practical to have the dominant language as a source language, let's say English, because all people know English, and then have the endangered language as the target language, because people want to learn and know how do I express, let's say, I love you in this endangered language. So I concentrate now on these active languages with source language is source language is TEOP and English is the target language. And so all these dictionaries are about language, and the encyclopedias are about the world, about actions, events, as plants, animals, etc. But when you document a language, of course there are many maybe plants and animals you don't know, or there are artifacts like certain kinds of baskets. Yeah? There is no English word for this, so you need to have some encyclopedic explanation what kind of basket it is or what kind of fishing technique, and so you have a mixture then of a language and a dictionary and a encyclopedia. So this classification does not really work for endangered languages. Then of course you have other classifications like comprehensive dictionary versus concise dictionary. Our dictionaries of endangered languages will never be comprehensive dictionaries, we don't have the time. You have general and specialized dictionaries, dictionaries for adults and for children, etc., etc. So, language documentation dictionaries are bilingual dictionaries in which the source language is an endangered language and the target language is a language of wider communication, English, Spanish, Russian, and so on. Language documentation dictionaries are different from commercial ones. They are typically compiled in 3 to 10 years part-time rather than decades or centuries like English dictionaries full-time, by a linguist with a team of native speakers who are all non-professional lexicographers. Even the linguists are non-professional. And on the basis of a small corpus, a collection of texts that are transcribed and translated. Elicitations, perhaps participant observations, and native speakers inclusions. There are problems. First, lexicographic work is not acknowledged as research in typological and documentary linguistics, and of course not in theoretical linguistics. People say, oh, this is just applied linguistics. Professional lexicographers, like the people in the Department of Lexicography in Aarhus, Denmark, say, no. Lexicography is not applied linguistics. It's not linguistics. It's a branch of information science. Now, for endangered languages, it's even worse. There are no standards or guidelines that would account for the specific production circumstances. That means the fieldwork situation. Guidelines that would address the needs of the different types of prospective users. So, it's a difference if you write a dictionary for linguists or for native speaker students in primary schools. Yeah. And, of course, you should consider the need for references to the sources of lexical items. So, a dictionary which doesn't tell you where all the lexical items and the examples come from, yeah, doesn't prove anything. Maybe it's an invention of the linguist. Yeah. So you need the sources also for your meaning descriptions. So, incidentally, language documentation dictionaries are not dealt with in the recent handbooks of lexicography. Durkin, the one in the middle here, explicitly excluded them, quoting, I'm happy about that, Mosel. I come now to the function theory, that is a theory developed by the August people. I'll read it slowly, and you can see it in your handout. According to function theory, dictionaries are utility tools which can be quickly and easily consulted with a view to meeting specific types of punctual information needs. You have to look up a word quickly to get the information. Yeah? You don't want to search for it in the dictionary, yeah, for 5 minutes or so. So, occurring for specific types of users, adults, children, academics, native speakers, etc., in specific types of social situations. Or put differently, according to function theory, any dictionary design must start from the needs of the users. The diversity of needs implies almost by itself that diverging needs, so different needs, cannot be or cannot optionally be satisfied by one and the same lexicographic data selection and presentation. Now, when you do your fieldwork and you do research on a language that hasn't been researched yet, you start with a lexical database. You have a software and then you put all in the words you come across with your translations. Then, in the second step, this database needs to be cleaned up. And from this database, you can produce then dictionaries. So we distinguish between lexical database on one hand side and the dictionary. I'll come to this in a minute. So we can skip this except for the function. So function theories distinguishes several functions. The communicative functions, that is text reception. That means you need to have a dictionary to understand the text. And text production, that means you want to write an English essay, so that's a different task than understanding an English book. So a dictionary for text production must inform you how to use, for instance, the prepositions in English. Then translation, and fourthly, second language learning. These are different functions, and because it's different functions, then the dictionaries have to have a different design. And finally, we have cognitive functions, so dictionaries can help you acquiring encyclopedic knowledge. That's the basket example. So what kind of functions do these language documentation dictionaries have? The functions haven't been identified and classified yet. Yeah? That's funny. All the people who do field work and document languages, they are more or less obliged to give a dictionary as a thank you to the speech community. And the speech community wants to have a dictionary, but it's not specified for what kind of use the dictionary is. So, functions, possible functions are text reception, that means understanding text, then translation of documented text, documenting endangered encyclopedic knowledge, that for myself is the most interesting thing, to let the people explain what this kind of plant is used for, does it have any medical substances, etc. And these explanations are then in the native language, in Kiel, and I try to translate it into English with the help of native speakers. Then, of course, revitalization. Then a dictionary can be a resource for lexical semantics and for lexical grammar studies. So here, I told you already, I'll focus on text reception, which in my view is a basis for further lexicographic and other activities in language documentation and revitalization. So first you must understand the text, and when you have understood the text, then you can go a step further and learn how to produce your own text. Now we come a bit to corpus linguistics, because in commercial and otherwise professional lexicography, using corpora as data sources has become the norm. That means you don't go just to the speech community and ask them, now please tell me what is the word for table and for bottle and water, and then you note it down, and then you have your dictionary. No. Words have their meaning, their special meanings in context, and you need the context in which words are used. So that's why we have corpora in all kinds of lexicography. They are authentic sources of lexical items and their usage. Sometimes, you know, when doing my work, I thought, this word is really common. And I checked my corpus and I found it's only 10 times that occurs. And the other way around, I thought a word is really rare or a construction is rare. And then I checked my corpus and I got hundreds of examples. So, as a linguist, you often have a very wrong picture in your mind of what the language, how the language works. So, we need adequate, verifiable and falsifiable meaning descriptions. Scientific work means that you can have data, you have sources, and that you can see this is wrong, this is falsifiable, or this is okay. So, corpus-based language documentation dictionaries, they document the existence of lexical items in text. Our main informant or consultant in the first years was a person who was bilingual in Kiel and another language, a related language. And after some years we discovered that she, sometimes mixed Kiel with this other language. Was not so good. So, but you could then see in the text and the examples she gave that this was not Kiel. So the identification of context-bound meanings, so-called utterance meanings, is a prerequisite for the analysis of the semantics of lexical items. And I'll show you in a minute what this means. So, each word has a certain specific coloring in context, and this is not the systematic meaning or systemic meaning which covers the polysemy itself. So here. I just skip this perhaps, or just summarize it. In commercial lexicography, so in your English and Spanish dictionaries, they use already existing printed and digitalized text, sometimes newspaper text or novels or whatever. The texts are then monolingual, and selection of the text precedes the building of the lexical database. So when people compile an English dictionary, they have corpora of billions of words, and from these corpora they extract their examples, etc. In language documentation dictionaries, the texts are created for the building of a language documentation corpus. Yeah? So they do not exist before you document the language. The texts are translated, of course, and the corpus, the collection of texts, and the lexical database are simultaneously built. So you work on your dictionary or lexical database while you transcribe your text and translate your text. And the size, of course, is much below 500,000. Now, this is how the corpus annotation looks in a language documentation project. It's done a tool, it's called ELAN, and you see now the sound wave, and then you see here the utterance ID is lost. Sorry, you see a phonetic transcription, an orthographical transcription, a translation, morphological analysis, and then the glossing. You can't do this with all the text. That's too time consuming. So most texts have a minimal annotation with a reference ID, transcriptions, here etc., and then the translation. And that's it, yeah? Not more than that. But you can search this corpus with special search strategies, and I will show that later on. So, what we built is a lexical database, and the lexical database is a kind of box, a sort of box, in which we store lexical items in a structured way. And from this database, from this box, you can then produce different dictionaries. Here I show you the structure of my lexical database. So it starts, as any dictionary entry in printed dictionaries, with a headword or lemma, that's another term for it, va normal. Then we have a grammatical speech or, part of speech abbreviation or grammatical information, VT, that's transitive verb. And then we have a definition or a translation, equivalent, send somebody or something here. That's the minimum entry content. But because this is a complex word, vanoma, I put in a morphological analysis, namely it's va, a causative prefix, and then the lexical item norma, come. That's a glossing. And I have examples, and these start with a reference number. That means it's a number which shows you where in the context in the corpus you can find it. So you search the corpus for this reference number, and then you find the example. And then you can see that maybe I was wrong in my glossing, or I was wrong in my translation, etc. In falsified. Then I also put in cross-references. Vano is the opposite of vanoma. It means send somebody or something somewhere, not here. Yeah? And we have an English finder list, explain these terms later. So, headwords. What are headwords? Here I copied it from the College School Advanced Dictionary. It's not just single words which you find in a dictionary like this. You have go, but you also have inflected forms like went and left. You have pronouns I and me. You have abbreviation. You have then clitic constructions like I'm talking now. You have clitic. You have compounds, and you have multi-word expressions like light year. So this is a dictionary for text reception. Everything you come across and you might not understand in the text, you will find in this dictionary. So everything the user might look for. So this means we look now here at the last items. This means you put in spelling variants, abbreviations, clitics and clitic constructions, multi-word expressions, etc. Not just single lexemes like this. Here I give you just one example. We have a preposition, key, that's a dative preposition. It means for and to, and then we have clitic constructions like kana for me or Kiel for him. So multi-word lemmas are, for instance, here hum ani. It means literally eating place or restaurant. Yeah? Hum kom means literally stepping place, steps in a house. And hum wawon, selling place. In traditional lexicography, multi-word expressions are only used as lemmas if they have undergone some kind of lexicalization. That means that they are similar to single words. So their meanings cannot be derived from the meanings of the components. But how do we know if in an under-researched language multi-word expressions have undergone lexicalization? We need data to find out to what degree such a combination of words is lexicalized. And these data then, they are stored in our lexical database or even in our dictionary. So, these multi-word expressions are most easily accessible as lemmas in an electronic language documentation dictionary. And most important, there is no need to save space in electronic dictionaries. In print dictionaries, yes, you have to, you have sub-entries because you want to save space. You have a dictionary of 500 pages, but not of 3,000 pages. You couldn't handle a dictionary with 5 volumes, yeah. But in electronic lexicography, there is no need to save space. Sorry, here. So I just skip this, you can read this. And I come now to translation, equivalence and meanings. And here I quote 2 other dictionaries. Let's look at the first example. You have Archie, that's the Caucasian language, cock, back, and son, back. Now what does back mean? Is it the body part of a person, an animal, or is it the back when you say in the back of the house? Yeah? So if, number 1 here, if the translation equivalent is homonymous or polysemous, translation equivalent is not enough. You need to have an explanation. What it is, what kind of back. Put it in brackets. Human or animal back, body part. Yeah, right. The second one is the translation equivalent is less specific than the lemma. Let's look at this Valkyrie example. That's an Australian language. So you have Jiviri, water, and the next item means water, and the third item means water or rain, and the fourth item means water, and the fifth item means water. Yeah? So, what's the difference between all these kinds of waters? You don't know. So this kind of translation equivalent or meaning description is not satisfying. In Tiel, we have the problem, and we have this in all kinds of languages, that the Tiel word is more general than the translation equivalent. Sorry for the typo. So Yana is mostly translated as fish, but it doesn't mean only fish. It means every creature that is swimming. So in our meaning descriptions, we have then the English definition, fish and other creatures that swim, and this accounts for the fact that fish is the most frequent translation, equivalent of Yana. And then I have, as an example, a definition from our school dictionary. It is any creature that swims is a Yana, also a turtle. And as cross-references, I have dugong, dolphin, and again turtle, so that people can look up these words. Clearly, examples, they document authenticity, and they come from the corpus. I may skip this. We can edit examples, we can shorten them, but I come now to my case study, which might be more interesting. So, we have now this corpus in Elan. We have the utterance ID, that's a reference to the corpus. We have a transcription and we have a translation. So this is the minimal annotation. And here I have opened the search section and I search with regular expressions. That's a query language. And what I do, you see, I have a transcription tier. See, that's the first tier here, that's the transcription tier. And then I have the translation tier, so this is the translation. Yeah? And so, on the transcription tier, I put what's called a wild card. That means any kind of translation, transcription that matches on the translation tier the words cut, cuts, and cutting. Yeah? So with this formula, with this search in my corpus, I find all examples of cutting verbs in the corpus. And I found 516 examples, and this looks now like this. Cut has 19 different Tiel translation equivalents. And it's altogether 516 tokens of cut, cuts, and cutting. So with once I have inserted the formula, with one click, I get all these data. Among others, I get the translation, the Tiel word taraha. And now, I can search for taraha with the same kind of formula. And when I search for taraha, of course, I get cut, but I also get carve and shave. Because sometimes one word is translated differently depending on the context, as I told you. So now I can search for carve, of course, and for shave, and find if these English words have additional translation equivalents. Yes, they do. For carve, I find Govara, Kepo, of course Taraha, and Kamuru. And then this story is finished. And altogether, I have now 707 tokens of cut words. If I want to write an article on cutting words, you know, I have to check all these, and I did this. And so, my first idea is, if, you know, my lexicon, my dictionary is just meant for translation, then it's okay. You know, I just put in the translation equivalents and that's it. So a dictionary that provides translation equivalents is useful for rapid translation, but it does not document the semantics of the source language. Yeah. To give you an example, I'm helping refugees, Syrian refugees in Germany, and so when I have to explain them what application means, yeah, then I check a dictionary, I have 5 translation equivalents, and I tell them the refugees, and then they understand what I mean. Yeah? So I don't want to have a definition of what application is in German administration. Yeah? Okay. So here I have now 2 words, kopar and rom, and they are translated like cut something up, rom, cut something, okay. Kopar, cut something open, no translation is rom. Cut something in half, oh, cut something in half too with rom, yeah. So this table doesn't explain really what kopar and rom mean. Only in the very last line to get an idea, cut something open by a longitudinal cut and slice something off. So, what did I do? I was aware that cut verbs may focus on different aspects, such as the object, the tool, or the purpose and result, and the direction of the cutting movement. So, I did participant observation. That means, yeah, walking around and look at people who were cutting something. So this is kopar. This is kopar. You know, even a round object can kopar. You start with the top and then you go down. Then rom. Here is the watermelon again. Now she made a cross cut. And the eggplant is cut this way. And here, rom, that's a pig, we don't need to look at it. And then in my fish descriptions, I found rahi kopar. These are horizontal stripes, and rahi rom, vertical stripes. And that got me the idea that the main difference between kopar and rom is the direction. And so we define them. Kopar means cut something open or into 2 or more parts by cutting it lengthwise or from the top to the bottom, like the watermelon. But rom means cut something long crosswise, yeah, into 2 or many parts or slices. So the semantic analysis of such words takes quite a long time. I mentioned already that we did some print dictionaries extracted from the corpus. And I think I use now the last minutes for exploring dictionaria, number 8. And we may just hop into the database. The summary is that in dictionaries of Dictionaria, they are genuine electronic dictionaries because they provide fast access of lexicographic data by single and, that's important, combined searches. And I show you what this is. Here. Let's go into the internet. This is a project run in Leipzig in Germany, and they produce dictionaries of endangered languages. And I show you now, I demonstrate now how this works. And you have it kind of instruct, you can go into the internet when you are at home and test it, and I have an instruction how to use this on the handout. So, when we have a dictionary, we want to know what's in this dictionary, because I told you that language documentation dictionaries are not comprehensive. Yeah? You won't find everything in this dictionary. So, we can go to the... This mouse is not happy with me. Or maybe it doesn't like the table. We go to the semantic domain, and this version of this dictionary I got just a few days ago. So the typos are not corrected yet. There are some mistakes, etc. I plan to finish this dictionary by the end of January. So let's scroll down and see what we find here. We find, for instance, body part terms, or fire, or fishing activities, motion. We find plants. Let's go into plants. And then we see only 3 entries. Now there must be something wrong. Yeah, that's a typo, sorry. Here we are better. Let me give you the example. Birds. So you see we have 52 birds in here. And we have body. And also you have what you see. You have combinations. So I have here body. Here I have body, 262 entries, but you know, one word usually does not only belong to one semantic domain, but to others. So you have your legs for walking, yeah? So you may put in walking for under the semantic domain body, or maybe swallow, or headache, or whatever. And therefore we have here, let's say, body and plants, body and process, that's certainly only 1 or 2, only 1 pass away, yeah, fall down, that's the process connected with body. More interesting are perhaps combined searches. You see now here, you have parts of speech, you have morphology, gloss, and then you have English translation equivalent. And when you write a grammar, this might be very practical. We go down to transitive constructions. Further transitive constructions. This is again one with a typo, sorry. No, that's intransitive. I should have a better glasses for this. Here. Okay. So 370 entries for transitive verbal constructions. This means it's not just one transitive verb, but it's a verb with something else, with another word, with a functional word, and the whole combination of these words, this multi-word expression, is transitive, has the same function as a single transitive verb. Now, when you look at the gloss, you see there's something apple. Now, that's not an apple, it's an applicative. That's a particle that changes the valency. And so I could put in here, let's say, applicative, yeah? Sorry. So, and immediately I get all constructions with the applicative here. And I see that's the. Yeah? So the lexicon then, or the dictionary, is also a resource for grammatical studies, because I can put in all, you know, like when I wrote the Samoan reference grammar, I had shoeboxes, yeah, with cards, slip cards, yeah, thousands. Now I put this all into my lexical database because I can find it easily, yeah. I can copy it into my grammar, etc. So, now my question to you, please ask me something to search in this lexical database. Do you have any idea? What do you want to know about this language? Word classes, for instance, or translation equivalents, or any idea up there?
What about
Yeah.
sound symbolism?
I must come to you because I'm deaf. Yeah.
What about sound symbolism? On my
Sound symbolism. Oh, that's a bad question. But at least no, it's not that bad. I go back to words, and I think I have a semantic domain called sound. At least this. Okay, so here we are. We have at least 12 entries here, and Biri make a booming sound. Unfortunately, I don't have links to then actual data. In this database, I could have links to audio files, and what would be interesting in your case now, have an audio file exactly, with sounds that people call Biri. Yeah, it's possible in this database. Yeah. But I was not so much interested in sounds, that's why I didn't put it in. Yeah. Good. Nice question. Anything else? Yes?
Human relations.
Sorry?
Human relations.
Human relations, yes. Okay. I have done social interaction for this. And another, I distinguish between social interaction and communication. Communication, of course, is a kind of social interaction, but let's look at social interaction. So we just said, no, not sound. Semantic domain. Semantic domain, not sound. Okay, what social interaction here? Oh, 47 entries, and what's the meaning? Kill people, be a killer. Help, assist someone, listen to what is said, obey, be obedient, want to be included or to come along, celebrate a successful fishing trip with a new net or canoe, help, secretly, etc. Fine. Yeah, good. Try more when you are at your own computer. Anything about grammar? Do you have idea? Yeah, okay. You want to say about something? No? Okay. One thing, for instance, causatives, you know, verbs which say you make somebody go or you make somebody do this and that. They are transitive. No? But I thought maybe there are causatives that are intransitive. Yes, there are. So we go back to words extra. We look at intransitive verbs. That's VE. No, yes, VE, sorry. And the gloss should be. Now something comes into play. If I put in causative now, you get, the first thing you get is a lot of causatives. Now you are not looking for that, but this has something to do with the search strategies. I must put in, and then of course you get causative as well, here. Then you get your causative. But to find the, yeah. So we have then anti-causative, and then we get here we start getting our causatives. So here we have causatives, and I want to get an intransitive one. Ah, here you are. Wait for the night to come. Yeah, that is an intransitive causative. Here you are. Wait for the night to come. War bon, and bon means night, and then you have bon, night reduplicated, and here you have the causative prefix. And all these causatives mean to wait for something. Wait for the tide to come. Wait for the flowers to blossom. Wait for the fruit to ripen, etc. So literally you could translate, let the fruit ripen or something like that. But it's just one word. I should go back. Any other grammatical things in the gloss? Yes, let's put in just first person plural, yeah? We. So, one, PL. So you see, I don't get just one word, you know, I get lots of words, and I get, here you see, clitic constructions. Then I get, of course, two kinds of we, inclusive and exclusive. I might put in now the inclusive. And here you have single words, pronoun or an object marker, yeah. But again, you have lots of clitic constructions. So, when somebody wants to write, or if somebody wants to write a grammar chapter on pronouns, yeah, or pronouns in clitic constructions like English, I'm doing this or that, she or he can use this database, yeah. And it gives you opportunities, yeah, for searching you don't have in print dictionaries. And compiling such dictionary, of course, is also more fun than writing a printed dictionary, because you can play around, you get new ideas, etc. Yeah, maybe for the end I give you one example with a nice picture. So we go to the words, the semantic domains, look for the plants. So they give us now 398 entries. You might just pick one of them. Agavana. And so you see that the plant dictionary within the lexical database here contains has not only a picture. Many have 2 or 3 pictures showing not only the plant but also the leaves and maybe the stem, etc. And then you see you have the explanation in Theo with an English translation and pretty long encyclopedic articles, yeah? So that this dictionary also documents the encyclopedic knowledge of plants. And we have a printed version of this for the teachers to be used in school, because I don't have internet. Yeah? And you can extract now a plant dictionary from this kind of database and print it. Yeah? Let me finish here, and I hope for more questions and comments. Any more specific corpus questions? I think I am in time for. Yeah, yes.
Ulrike, I think it's important to emphasize that a dictionary is never neutral.
Yes.
Even if you have a corpus, it's never going to be neutral.
No.
In the same way that you answered our colleague here,
yes.
I'm not interested in sounds, but you're clearly interested in trees.
Yes. Yeah.
I also, I have a lovely anecdote from Andrew Pawley. So Andy Pawley was working on a dictionary of a language called Kalam in Papua New Guinea, and he had been studying the language for 40 years.
Yeah.
Okay? And he was in the field one time when a group of geologists came, and they were doing a survey of the area. And so he introduced his main consultant, and this guy took the geologists out for a tour. They came back, and the geologist had a piece of paper with 12 words for different kinds of rocks.
Yeah. Yes.
And Andy said to his consultant, "What the hell?" He said, "I've been working on this language for 40 years, and you only gave me 2 words, rock and stone. You've got all these other words." And the guy looked at him and he said, "These guys understand about rocks, you don't."
Yes, yes, that's clear. You know, a language, or let's say, a small commercial dictionary has about 20,000 to 50,000 entries. A small one, yeah. A big commercial dictionary has 500,000 entries, yeah. So don't think that the Theo people have less words than English speakers, yeah. Of course, they don't have so many words for administration, etc. But they have many, many words for things we don't know, you know, or parts of animals, or the parts of the trees, and etc., etc. For instance, to grow roots, 2 words in English, but 1 word in Theo. Yeah. So we concentrated on certain topics. We started with house building because I had experience with a house building dictionary in Samoa, with a monolingual school dictionary, and so I knew a bit about house building, though the houses in Kiel are differently built, but what to look at, and it's very easy to define which beam is put on which other beam, etc. So, house building was the first topic, and we go now back to these semantic domains. No, sorry. Yeah. Semantic domain, house, and let's illustrate this. House. No, not implemented yet, sorry. So house building was the first one, and we made a little school book on house building in here. And then the second one was on fishing methods. The reason for doing this was that traditional fishing activities were not well remembered or not known to younger people, and the older people wanted to have them remembered. And the consultants, they went to old people to ask them how they produce their nets, fishing activities. Sorry, he was tongue. That's why we didn't get him to come. Any? Good. So I'll give you an example here. No. So this is all things about fishing activities. I put in a head word, meaning net. Sometimes it's sorry, my mistake. Tools and weapons. It would be too time consuming now to find the right example. So fishing activities, fishes of course, plants. So a focus on material culture. Then we had animals, birds. With pictures you have seen some. Fishes of course. But other topics, just motion. We have lots of words of motion and transfer coming from the text on fishing activities and also coming from personal histories. So we had a volume where people talked about the Second World War and the Bougainvillean crisis, or the Civil War, personal experiences like travels, etc. So then we had lots of motion words, but Peter of course is right. Every dictionary is biased, and that's, okay.
How important is it for the linguist to learn the language?
Sorry?
Do the linguists need to have a very advanced level of language to do the dictionary? Is it enough for the basic knowledge, or?
Again, sorry.
How important is it for the linguist to learn? Yes, to learn the language.
Okay. So I worked together with a friend, and I lived then in Australia, and she was a native speaker of Kiel. And so we had to give a field methods course at the university, and so while I taught the students how to learn a language with no books, then I learned the language. And so at many universities you have courses where you learn how to learn a language without books. So usually we start with basic vocabulary, but not by translation equivalence. So we do not ask, please, what is the word for bottle or water? Because translation equivalents never catch the meaning. Yeah? So if I would ask the Theo person, what does the word cut mean in your language? Then he or she would say maybe papa, but that's what comes to her mind. And we have seen that this word papa is not a general term for cut. It means cut something lengthwise. So we learn a language by participant observation, or in the classroom or any other room. We start just with our environment. So this bottle is standing on the table and this is lying, yeah? And when you have a computer, a laptop, interestingly, in many languages, if the laptop is open, it stands. If you shut it, it lies, yeah? I don't know what do you say in English? If you have the laptop open, does it stand or lie or sit on the table? Or just is on the table?
Is or is sitting on the table?
It's sitting on the table, okay, yeah. So in German, it's standing on the table. And in Theo, it would stand, and otherwise it would lie. So you see, words are context bound, and it's good to start with the immediate environment, or what you can see, or where you can take a video of it and photographs, etc. And one important point is that you do not ask too many questions, because then you might look like a teacher who wants to question the people. No, you ask some person, maybe an elderly person, please teach me the language. And then let him or her teach you the language. So that he says what you can learn and how you should learn it, etc. So you adapt to the community members. Yeah? Because otherwise you are just a colonialist, yeah, who comes to take out the language, publish it, get a PhD, and get a good pay afterwards. We have problems like this in Papua New Guinea. That people say, no, we don't want to have researchers, they take our language and then they make this and this and this. Yeah. So, and when we choose these topics, of course, it was the people who asked us, we need something for our primary schools, knowledge on this and that. Yeah, and one interesting thing was the people, when I was walking around the beach, I started collecting shells because they were just so beautiful. And I asked the children following me, now what's the name of this shell? Didn't know. Okay, so we asked their grandmother and she knew. And then the children got interested in collecting shells and the names from the grandma. And we did a little dictionary of 40 pages of shells, telling you how the shell looks like when it's very young, where you find it in the river or in the sea, with the corals or on rocks, and if you can eat it or not, etc. So this is all, fun, I like it. More ideas, more questions on field work or grammar, languages, problems. Maybe one more thing about bias. Yeah. Of course, I stay in a village at the coast, and soon after I started my work, the people in the mountains complained, that I was only documenting the coastal dialect and not the mountain dialect. And I said, okay, let me do first the coastal dialect, and then we do some work on the mountain dialect. Then I met a mountain person, an old man who had studied forest forestry in the 70s, and he knew all the Latin names of the trees. So we walked together through the mountain area, and he soon said, "Oh no, I can't walk with you. You are too slow." And okay, so you get my camera here. I showed him how to use the camera and what I want to have documented by pictures. And then he was really happy. He walked around, took pictures, and then he gave names to the pictures. I tried to find out the English names, and then I had a biologist at my university in Kiel who checked, the Latin names. And surprisingly, he hardly made any spelling mistake or other mistake. Yeah. So that's where the scientific names of plants come from in this dictionary. Yeah. And so, yeah, if you look at it, the introduction text is not updated yet. Yeah. So, and if you find anything in this which you have questions about, or you think there are big mistakes, etc., please write me an email. Yeah, it's work in progress, and I'm happy about comments, corrections, hints at my mistakes, etc. Thank you.